Let's go to workout and recovery. What
Okay.
have you learned in that area? Because I know that you train, like you lift. So
Yeah. Yeah. I've been training for, what's it been, 15 years now, nonstop. It's, it's incredibly important. So I have a lot to say on this, but I'll keep it as brief as I can. Um, when it comes to training, there's a few fundamental things that people have to do if they want to take advantage. And you're probably already doing all of them, but for anybody listening, um, one is that you have to constantly be progressively overloading. You have to be improving in some form or fashion, if that's by the number of repetitions that you perform, the actual resistance itself, your rest times, whatever it ends up being, just picking a metric and then trying to improve from exercise to exercise. So progressive overload is probably one of the highest tenets that you should always keep in mind. The second one is definitely not going to be new to anyone, is going to be lifting compound movements. So we're talking about like a deadlift, squat, bench press, overhead press, pull-ups, things of that nature, just multi-joint, as long as you're not doing dumbbell curls or tricep extensions or whatever. There's nothing wrong with those exercises, but for anybody first starting out or even an intermediate lifter, they should definitely be focused a lot more on compound lifting. And the next one is volume is the greatest driver of hypertrophy. So intensity, when I mean by intensity, what I mean by volume, let me explain that real quick. So intensity is just literally the amount of weight that you're lifting. So the amount of resistance that's on the end of the bar or at the end of the cable or whatever. Volume is the actual amount of total work done given a certain amount of time. So let's say if it's within a day, so if you go to the gym and you lift 5,000 pounds total for the day, or you lift 1,000 pounds for your chest, whatever it might be. Or you can extend it to per week or per month or however you want to do it. Doesn't matter. The point is that you're lifting a certain amount of weight and it has to be over a certain amount of time. And you can use that as a metric. So let's say month one, you were only able to lift 8,000 pounds. The next month, you were able to lift 9,000 pounds, et cetera, et cetera. Now, there's an intersect between those two in that you can't be doing volume that's just junk volume. So you have to be putting in enough resistance on the musculature where you are actually stimulating muscle growth. Now, what does enough resistance mean? It's that the science has become really clear on this over the last 10, 15 years, that the intensity doesn't matter nearly as much as getting close enough to failure. So what I mean by failure is that you literally just can't lift the weight anymore. So you would want to, let's say if your failure reps would be, let's say you can do 12 repetitions of a certain amount of weight. If you can get within like up to like 10 or 11 repetitions, just a few reps shy, that's definitely a good enough intensity that you will see improvements in muscle growth over time, as long as you continue to increase the volume over time. So
thought here. Okay, so I've got a squat rack in my basement. I've been going down every 60 to 90 minutes throughout my workday, and I'll just go do some squats. So if I'm pushing, let's say 8,000 pounds last month, but in 2 or 3 months, I'm moving 15,000 pounds, but I'm not lifting any more weight, or maybe even doing lighter weight. For example, you're saying that as long as I'm stressing the stressing the muscle and moving volume of weight, then that's going to net a better outcome than compound lifts or progressive overloading.
No, it would still have to be compound lifts, and it would still have to be progressive overload. But the progressive overload can come through added volume.
Okay.
So because it's again, the progressive overload is just, am I improving from 1 week to the next or 1 month to the next? So in that scenario, you are improving from that month to the next. How you do it doesn't really matter, as long as you're getting just sufficient intensity and your volume is continuing to rise. That's again specific to muscle growth, which doesn't it's not a perfect correlation with muscle strength. Like, yes, while the muscle size increases, the muscle strength increases as well.
Mhm.
But I'm sure you've seen people that are pretty skinny. They don't have a ton of muscle on them. They're not like these super jacked guys, but they can lift a lot of weight.
Mhm.
The reason for that is because they're focusing on strength or power output, which is far more intensity based as opposed to volume based. So you can mix and match these variables, but I know that a lot of people are interested in kind of gaining a little bit of both at the same time, which focusing on volume and then also pairing that with a decent enough intensity where you're getting within about 3 to 4 reps or closer to failure offers the best bang for your buck.
Okay, so that's awesome. Any hoaxes or anything that we've been lied to when it comes to workout, recovery, building muscle? It's a total waste of our time.
Yeah, well, it seems like an unending list. It feels like. Um,
What are the big ones that pop to mind right now?
well, for example, confusing the musculature, like confusing the muscles, that's just total BS. That just anybody no, your muscles don't get confused. They don't have brains.
Mhm.
They so
What do you mean by confusing them? Is that like doing different movements for the same muscle? Like, for example, you can do cable, like rope pull downs, and then do skull crushers to hit the triceps in a different way. Like, is that what you mean by confusing the muscle?
Yeah, I think again, I don't believe in it, so you'd have to talk to somebody who actually really believes in it, but
Mm.
which I think now is becoming fewer and fewer people, or maybe I'm just ignoring them. I don't know, but um, I think the principle is, yeah, you're doing one exercise. Let's say one week you're doing skull crushers, then the next week you're doing tricep pull down, but you're constantly moving between those two exercises without actually prioritizing, am I improving in these exercises? It's
Mhm.
just about mixing it up as much as possible. Oh, I didn't get sore, so from this exercise now I have to move on to another exercise. No, you should still be doing that exercise. You
Mhm.
should just be continuously trying to improve. And it's fine to switch exercises,
Mhm.
absolutely. But just again, make sure that you're improving.
Are,
So,
are there any studies or anything that you've come across that make any recommendations for taking breaks on workouts? Because I've noticed, like, if you ever have to take a break for a month or something like that, and you go back and you do your first workout, you have like immense amount of soreness and like a positive feeling, from that workout. Is that something that they've studied?
yeah, absolutely. It's been studied a lot. So the differences between deload and a just a complete break. The studies are pretty clear on that as well. So it's typically recommended to do a deload, which means that you would be cutting your volume at least in half, and you'd be cutting your intensity at least in half. So you're essentially just going in there and just doing movement. You're not even like really you're lifting the same
So it's
weight.
a lightweight for like a month or something
Yeah,
like that.
it's super easy. I think
Okay.
the deloads are typically supposed to be 1 to 2 weeks, but honestly, if you were to extend it further, the point is that if you're at least moving the musculature,
Mhm.
you have a much higher ability to retain that musculature, even if it's, let's say, a month.
I really hope you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to watch the full length podcast, you can find that over here, that clip's from. If you're newer to the channel, make sure you hit subscribe over here and pin down below in the top comment. You'll find a bunch of useful links to my website, my supplement line, books, and a bunch of other stuff. Have an amazing day. Peace out.